Welcome to this NAS panel discussion on COVID-19 related response, recovery, and resilience strategic science initiative. I'm Dr. Martín-José Sepúlveda, a member of the National Academies of Medicine and chair of the Executive Council for President Marcia McNutt that is overseeing this strategic sciences initiative. The Executive Council, which I chair, is a multidisciplinary advisory group made up of leaders from a broad array of sectors, including the academic world, government, and industry. Our mission is to identify and prioritize major COVID-related areas of concern or major issues, as well as pandemic-related opportunities for improvement in our society. We are also missioned to provide strategy groups that will actually conduct the work and that have been convened independently of the Executive Council by the academies, the specific prioritized concern or opportunity that they will study. We also have a role at the back end to support the dissemination of final reports from the study groups to policymakers, communities, and researchers. Our Executive Council is composed of 8 members, highly distinguished in a broad array of disciplines and fields, ranging from economics to law, healthcare, public health, policy, technology, environment, community and social justice domains, and the defense component of our government. Our strategy groups, as I've indicated, are independent of the Executive Council. They're appointed through the National Academies process for each individual sector based on their specific skills and experiences. They are required to produce a report that culminates in the articulation of opportunities for strengthening the response capability, the resilience of communities and systems for policymakers, communities, and the research community. Now, what is unique about this work is that the strategy groups are required to use scenario planning methodology to complete their work. So, why scenario planning specifically? Let me go over the what, the why, and the how of scenario planning. Scenario planning is a disciplined process in which groups of people come together to imagine and articulate alternative futures. This approach can be applied to a great range of issues. The product of scenario planning are narratives of multiple possible futures related to the issue, the concern, or the opportunities, as well as an articulation of the consequences and opportunities for improvement created in those alternative futures. Effectively, it's a tool for providing insights for decision-making that complements traditional strategic planning and its tools of econometrics, biostatistics, forecasting, modeling and simulation, and so forth. Why scenario planning? Because it extends thinking beyond traditional strategic planning and traditional strategic planning data and analytical tools, which produce in strategic planning a single future state that gets addressed by the strategic plan. Scenario planning is particularly valuable as a component or an input to strategic planning when there are very high levels of uncertainty about that future. And these are captured in alternative scenarios of those future states. In future states that are being driven by major shocks and disruptions, unanticipated in society. So how does scenario planning process work? Once constituted, the group that will carry out the scenario planning examines, articulates, and refines the question, the problem, or the issue that they've been posed. They spend time explicitly articulating who the target audience is going to be for the outputs of their work, and these may include end users, clients, sectors, variety of stakeholders, communities, and so forth. The scenario planning group then proceeds to identify and prioritize the major forces that are at play in that future group of scenarios and selects two major forces. These two major forces are then used to create a 2x2 table or an XY axis graphic and divided into 4 quadrants, representing high levels for the two forces, high-low levels between one force and another force, low levels for both forces, and low-high levels for the fourth. Each of these study groups is independently assigned to one of these quadrants, and they're intended to evaluate the context, the consequences of the issue, problem, and questions along this two-dimensional axis, identify potential harms, as well as changes that are positive in nature, and to provide commentaries on opportunities for mitigating negative consequences and optimizing positive changes. These 4 then independently assessed alternative future states are examined for recurring or shared context, consequences, opportunities, and actions in an overall report. The case that is for discussion for the panel today is our pilot scenario planning project. Its focus is on rental property evictions within low and middle income communities and disadvantaged groups and communities of color in the near and midterm, defined as 6 months to 2 years, and in midterm, 3 to 5 years. This particular study group was composed of experts in key and diverse disciplines ranging from housing, policy and finance, community engagement and housing organizations, economics, law, public health, infectious disease, and amongst others. I want to thank all of you for joining this unique exposure of this work, guided by Professor Marcia McNutt. I want to thank Marcia's brilliant team led by Audrey Thevnon, and I want to thank the entire Executive Council for their work. I want to thank all of you for joining us today and exploring the application of scenario planning in this new venture of Academy's work.